Awesome, Stomp. And I got one update on merchandise. So we have the sticker order is arriving on June 21st. So if you want a sticker or stickers, I'll include in the show notes a Google form for you to sign up for stickers. And originally, like, I had this deal where I'm actually kind of shocked, Stomp, because I put this thing together where I was like, all right, just Venmo me 58 cents. First of all, I thought a stamp was 29 cents. Like, that's how out of touch I am. Like, I had no clue that a stamp was 58 cents. My wife was like yelling at me. She's like, how do you not know that? I was like, I thought a stamp was 29 cents. Like, that's the last time I think that's when I got married. Like, I haven't done a stamp in I don't know how long.
Have you checked your gas lately?
Yeah. So I just basically said Venmo me 58 cents, but like a couple of people Venmoed me like $15, $20 and said, like, you know, use it for the show. So I think if you were like hesitant to like fill out the form because you don't have a Venmo, like, just fill the form out and put a little note in there and just be like, I don't have a Venmo and I'll send you stickers. I don't care. But I figured, like, if you want to just cover the stamps. But I guess the people don't have Venmo, so... Yeah,
it's up and coming.
Rebecca, if you want, I'll send you some stickers for sure, so just fill out the form. I don't want any Venmo from you, though.
Huh, okay.
Yeah.
If you've been a guest on the show, don't worry about the stamp. And then after that, once...
Can mail you a stamp?
Yeah, you can mail me a stamp. When we hike together, you can give me a stamp, so...
Okay.
But, sweaty stamp.
Exactly. So I just figured, like, if I got a lot of people want stickers, so I just figured, like, I would see if they want to pay for the stamp. I probably should have just said screw it. And, but anyway, it is what it is. I don't know. It was a good idea at the time.
Broadcasting from the Woodpeckers studio in the great state of New Hampshire, welcome to the Sounds Like a Search and Rescue podcast, where we discuss all things related to hiking and search and rescue in the White Mountains of New Hampshire. Here are your hosts, Mike and Stump.
All right, we're on episode 63B. Do we want to call it 63B?
Sure.
Part 2.
Part 2.
Part 2.
Yes.
Round
exactly.
2.
So Stomp you. I remember, so we have to re-record the show because we had an audio issue. So I remember I like recorded a show and I forgot to press record on my audio. And it was like the most heart-stopping moment of my life. So, Stomp, tell us what was going through your mind when you pulled up that file and realized that it was toast.
Well, yeah, it's interesting. In this software that I use, it's Cubase, which is a Pro Tools competitor. You can see the waveforms, and this waveform did not open up for, I believe it was my file and your files, so it was just toast. And I tried searching for them. They were done. You know, it's just, it was gone. Like, after this many years of doing this stuff, you know when something's gone. So I lost the whole session, and for that session, Rebecca had actually come over to the studio, and she has documentary proof that she posted online, a little, picture that she's snuck in there, which is super cool. But yeah, what a bummer, because it was a great conversation too, but we'll just have to make it up, and I'm sure it'll go as smooth as it did last week.
Yeah, we'll make it an even greater conversation. So
I think so. Yeah.
But Stomp is not on video now, so he's got even like more issues where we can't even see him at this point. So we're already stepping all over each other. The connection's fantastic, but I'm working out some gremlins here in the studio. So who knows? All right, well...
But it's good to see all of you again.
It's good to not see you. But I had a couple of show opener things to talk about here. One is I got a message from our friend, I believe this was Al, who had sent us a message. So Al helps out, like, he'll say, like, if I have if I'm like, audience get to me about like a question or whatever, a lot of times he'll chime in. I think he's involved with like the the Trailhead Steward Pro. Don't quote me on that, but I think that he is. But so he had sent over a trivia question. I think it was him. If it wasn't him, I apologize. Asking whether or not so Mount Washington Road Race is coming up, I think, next weekend. So he had asked, oh no, I think it's this weekend.
Yeah, Father's Day.
He had asked if there's any dual winners of the Mount Washington race and the Boston Marathon. I was like, I have no idea.
Yeah, and I don't either.
Yeah, so I did a little bit of research on it, and there's actually one on the men's side and one on the women's side. So there is a lady by the name of Jacqueline Garreau, who was the Mount Washington Road Race winner in 1989, 1994, and 1996.
Wow, triple, huh?
Yeah, so she's won it 3 times, and she was actually the winner of the 1980 Boston Marathon, which was the famous race that is known for Rosie Ruiz, who, I don't know, Rebecca, if you remember Rosie Ruiz, but she was like this famous, like she basically like hopped onto the race like at the end and won. Everybody thought she won. She put on the whatever that thing is on their head that they put on there, and wasn't discovered for a few days, and finally somebody was like, I saw this person on the subway. The race directors got suspicious, and she got basically found out as being a liar. So Jacqueline Garreau ended up being the real winner, but she didn't get to celebrate that day.
It's amazing. I remember
that's too bad.
Yeah, I remember as a kid, that story, for whatever reason, is a really strong memory with me. And I was just a little guy, but just to think about somebody trying to pull that off today with all the surveillance in terms of everybody with a camera and a phone and a live feed. I mean, I don't think you could ever pull that off, but back then it was certainly attempted. But amazing story.
Yeah.
Rosie Ruiz, where is she now?
She is, I think, I'll have to do some research. Last I read, she was in Florida. She may have passed away. I think she did pass away. She was in Florida. I think she lived a pretty quiet life afterwards. I mean, she definitely made a big mistake, but she didn't double down like so many of these folks that become infamous. Like she, I think, led a pretty quiet life. Yeah. But it is interesting. So when we talk about the search and rescue news, there's going to be another case of somebody being dishonest, and it'll sort of tie into the Rosie Ruiz thing, but we'll save it for the search and rescue news. But Rosie Ruiz was one of the early stories that I remember, like growing up. Like I remember Rosie Ruiz, I remember the Iran hostage situation, Ronald Reagan getting shot, and then as far as the marathons go, the other big marathon memory for me was the Dick Beardsley, Alberto Salazar Duel in the Sun, which I think was a couple years later, which was an amazing amazing race, and there's a pretty cool documentary about it out there, so I can link that in the show notes. Yeah.
Oh, it's so great. Who won this year?
Oh, God, I have no idea.
Yeah. I remember, like, for several years, it was the Africans, more or less, right? Or Ethiopian runners and everything else. Those guys with the wheelbarrow lungs that can just plow through the field. It's amazing.
Yeah, I think for about the last 30 years or so, the East African runners have pretty well dominated it. There's been a couple of exceptions, but anyway, going back to Jacqueline Garreau, she won the Mount Washington Road Race in 1989. And then 94 and 96, not only was she the overall female finisher, but she was also the overall 40-plus finisher. So she was a competitive runner well into her 40s, which is impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other, on the male side, the other dual winner goes back a little bit farther in time. So this is John J. Kelly, who won the Mount Washington Road Race in 1961. Yeah. And he was a winner of the Boston Marathon in 1957. So this is the John Kelly who's known as Kelly the Younger. He is not the John Kelly that is called Kelly the Senior, who was known as the guy that ran the marathon every year. And I think he passed away a while ago.
Are they related, though, or?
I don't think so. I think there's a bunch of different Kellys in Boston. So.
Oh, yeah. John Kelly was incredible, too. What a powerhouse.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So special thanks to Al for coming up with that idea. But I thought that with the Mount Washington Road Race coming up this weekend, that was a good opener for us.
Yeah, it's such a great time. It's a great memory, having run it a couple times, and I know you can speak to this as well, but like right now, all the motorcycles are everywhere because of Bike Week, and just brings back those visceral memories, like getting amped up, like, oh my God, we got to race this thing tomorrow, or, and Father's Day on top of it. It's a cool time.
Yeah. I always love the Mount Washington Road Race. It's a tough year for me this year. Usually I would be up there, like my wife's cousin, her husband, Bo, who I hike with, he's running it this year, and I'm really disappointed I can't go up there and sort of cheer him on. But unfortunately, like, we got, high school graduations. This month is basically a wash for me. I got high school graduations every weekend, so.
Yeah.
And I think the Mount Washington race is next weekend, actually, so quote me on, don't quote me on that, but I think it's next weekend. Which
would be late, if I remember.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'll look it up as we're talking and when I get a little break here, but but that's it. So Stomp sponsors and coffee talk.
Yeah, let's start with the old donations here. So we have a ton. So Nicole Beth donated 5. Lynn from the 48 Peaks Alzheimer's donated she donated 3. Thank you, Lynn. Stein donated 5. Apparently this person moved from Denmark and is an avid listener. Natasha and Steve, thank you for those 2. Someone donated 3, and this is not the someone that we generally know. It's another someone. Lauren M., she donated 3. Listens Fridays and says, "Good job, buddy." John Boy donated 3, and I have a note here thanking for hike safe information. You're welcome, John. And What Donna Hamilton Photographs donated 5. So she is at 47 down and 1 to go. Good job. You're getting there. Crushing peaks. And then Sarah, without an H, she donated 3 and tells us that she made it to Reckless for some refreshments. So awesome. Thank you so much for supporting our sponsor, which is Reckless. And they are just minutes from the 4,000 footers, Franconia Notch, and 10 minutes from the 5 corners. And just everybody knows by now, best food, craft beer, and fun. And of course, we want to say thanks again to EMS for joining us for the recent episode. And you'll be hearing more from them, I'm sure.
Awesome, Stomp. And I got one update on merchandise. So we have the sticker order is arriving on June 21st. So if you want a sticker or stickers, I'll include in the show notes a Google form for you to sign up for stickers. And originally, like, I had this deal where I'm actually kind of shocked, Stomp, because I put this thing together where I was like, all right, just Venmo me 58 cents. First of all, I thought a stamp was 29 cents. Like, that's how out of touch I am. Like, I had no clue that a stamp was 58 cents. My wife was like yelling at me. She's like, how do you not know that? I was like, I thought a stamp was 29 cents. Like, that's the last time I think that's when I got married. Like, I haven't done a stamp in I don't know how long.
Have you checked your gas lately?
Yeah. So I just basically said Venmo me 58 cents, but like a couple of people Venmoed me like $15-$20 and said, like, use it for the show. So I think if you were like hesitant to like fill out the form because you don't have a Venmo, like, just fill the form out and put a little note in there and just be like, I don't have a Venmo, and I'll send you stickers. I don't care. But I figured, like, if you want to just cover the stamps. But I guess the people don't have Venmo, so.
Yeah, it's up and coming.
Rebecca, if you want, I'll send you some stickers for sure, so just fill out the form. I don't want any Venmo from you, though.
Huh,
okay.
Yeah.
If you've been a guest on the show, don't worry about the stamp. And then after that, once...
Can mail you a stamp.
Yeah, you can mail me a stamp. When we hike together, you can give me a stamp. So,
okay.
A sweaty stamp.
Exactly. So I just figured, like, if I got a lot of people want stickers, so I just figured, like, I would see if they want to pay for the stamp. I probably should have just said screw it and, like... but anyway, it is what it is. I don't know. It was a good idea at the time.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I have a tick joke, but it's from a listener, so this is actually a first for the show. I didn't add this to the script, but this is actually really cool. It's by El Rojo, 1983, and El Rojo says, "Why are ticks so fond of Mike and Stomp?" Well, because these guys are the best hosts. Not too bad, huh?
Yeah,
it's okay. A good one.
Dun-dun-dun. Do your little like sound effect. I always feel like the tick jokes are way better when you like do the final editing and you do your little like drop in. It makes it better.
Right.
Nice try anyway. But just going back to merchandise for a sec. So I'm done with the stamps. So the stamps are coming in on June 21st. Right now it's June 17th.
Yeah.
And then I have my intern that's going to be like putting all the envelopes together. So I'll get those mailed out by like the end of next week, like the 23rd or something like that. And then from there, my intern is going to help me pick out hats, and then we're going to finalize T-shirts and make a deal. So she's going to help me do that. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, hey, it only took 2 years. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, exactly. So something like that. Anyway, Stomp, so welcome to episode 63, take 2 of the Sounds Like a Search and Rescue podcast, where we originally we had a Stomp and Post time limit of exactly 1 hour, but we're probably going to go over that this time. So this week we are pleased to have Rebecca Sperry, Triple Crown SLASR guest, joining us for an update on life hiking, cats, cancer treatments, and an announcement on a special fundraiser that she's doing. So Rebecca is going to be ramping up her focus on doing the red line tracing, or whatever we're supposed to call it nowadays. So we'll talk a little bit about her strategy, and then also dig into her recent redlining trail tracing activity on Mount Monadnock, and then all that, and some coverage on recent search and rescue news. So I'm Mike.
And I'm Stomp. Let's get started.
So, Rebecca, I don't think you drink, but if you have any apple juice or good soda that you drink, and feel free to share. But
I'm drinking a Sprite.
Oh, you got a Sprite? That's good.
Hey, a little spritz going on there. Mm-hmm. I am drinking another double IPA that my wife introduced me to. So, yeah, I forget the company, but Wizard. How about you?
I'm drinking a double IPA from Night Shift Brewing, and it's called the 87, and I have no idea what that means, but it's pretty good. My wife bought it for me, so she was all proud. She was like, I got you IPAs from, I don't know where she got them, but she was proud of herself.
That's super cool. Nice work.
Yeah, it was pretty good. So, Stomp, any recent hikes for you?
No, but I did go up, let me see, what was that? I did Greenleaf Trail for a qualifier, so that counts for something, right? And I just have a note about that. There was, the typical, what you would think were like rain squalls, but no, it was just pollen. Incredible. I think it's starting to like tamp down a bit, but boy, the pollen was wild for the last week and a half. Yeah, it's brutal. Me and my friends were running, and we like walk when we get to the hill at the final section, and we were like walking up the hill, and it was so like hazy, and we realized it was exactly what you were talking about. It was like the pollen just blowing off of the trees, and it was just gross. But we had a couple of rainstorms down here, so it kind of knocked all the pollen away, so we haven't had any issues in the last couple of days. Yeah. And how about you, Mike? Anything?
Nothing. I'm in graduation party hell.
Graduation mode. I'm still itching to get up that little abandoned trail just west of Welch Dickey. So we'll see if I can sneak that in this weekend.
Yeah, I was supposed to hike Mount Chicora with my neighborhood friends today, but one of the guys had to do a chaperone for school, and then I had some prep work for my daughter's graduation party's coming up next weekend, and that thing's like, it's turning into like an all-encompassing extravaganza down here, so I just had to do some painting to get ready for the party, so I haven't been able to hike. Rebecca, hopefully you've hiked somewhere good recently.
Of course she has.
I hiked today.
Where'd you go?
Yeah, actually, me and our good friend Danielle,
cool.
who has yet to make an appearance on the show, but is probably going to have to be a guest at some point.
She's coy.
Oh, yeah, she is. So we were over in the Sandwich Wilderness, and she had some tracing redlining that she needed to clean up in that area. She's actually at 90% right now, so she's getting really close to the end. So we did up to Sandwich Dome, but we went up Black Mountain Pond Trail and then across the ridge and then down Bennett Street Trail and then out. So we did like a traverse and car spotted, and actually Bennett Street Trail was so beautiful. I love that trail.
Huh.
I'm going to do it again. I feel like it's a beautiful trail. Like, people need to get out there. That area is gorgeous.
It is nice. I'm sort of like, I had a little bit of trauma in that area because I was an idiot and I went up like the Gleason Trail, and the problem with the Gleason Trail is that it's on Gaia, and I was like, oh, if it's on Gaia, it must be, but it's closed. So I actually went up the closed section of the Gleason Trail, and I got stuck in these like insane piles of moose dung, and eventually I just cut over I did get to Bennett Street, but I was like so traumatized by like getting bushwhacking through that mess that I probably didn't enjoy it as much as I could. But are you with Sandwich Dome? How's the view there? It's growing in like bad, right?
Well, so actually someone, I don't know, we don't know who, just recently decided to take some of the trees down. So now there's like a view.
Really?
That's like a shame drop right there.
Wow.
And they didn't even cut them down at the base, like all the way to the ground. They cut them like 1.5 feet off the ground.
Really?
So, yeah. Yeah, so there's a view.
So obnoxious.
I mean, now there is a view, but it's like brand new.
I saw the same thing up on Love Connection up here in Smartsbrook. It's like, come on, people. Just let it freaking grow. There are 10,000 views up here. Jesus. It's like, come on.
Yeah. Is that one even on a list?
Sandwich?
It is. It is on the 52 with a view.
I thought so.
And the reason I asked about the view is because when I went up there last time, I was kind of like, there's not much of a view here. And when they delisted... I'll
send you guys a picture.
Yeah, definitely send some pictures. But when they delisted those other mountains a couple of years ago, there was a lot of talk on on Ken's Facebook site, the 52 with a view site, about the fact that like Sandwich Dome is probably only got a couple more years where you can sit there and say like, okay, there's a view. And I always thought like, what's going to be the next?
Well, not anymore.
Yeah.
Crazy. Someone just cleaned it out. Nice. You can actually see where they cut the tree in the picture too. I'll send you it.
Yeah, people, come on. Leave the saws at home. Come on.
Yeah.
Stomp is fired up about that.
I am. I mean, I think that's really pathetic because, for me, it ties into these abandoned trails like, the Grand Traverse is being chainsawed and tagged with paint and stuff. Like, come on.
People suck.
You can see it in the bottom right. I sent you guys the picture.
Okay. Yeah, I'll check it out. Stomp, didn't they? I feel like they did that at... Oh wow! So sorry, Rebecca's sending me this picture. I'll post this on the Facebook page. People are gonna get triggered. Holy Jesus! Yeah. Stomp! Don't look at those pictures. You're gonna freak out. But didn't they do this in Tecumseh a couple of years ago? I feel like somebody cut down trees on Tecumseh.
Not that I'm aware of. Possible. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
I definitely see a lot of trees that have been. I don't know. I feel like I see it quite often, but maybe it's just because of where I'm hiking. People decide to just take it into their own hands. The thing they don't realize also is if you go out and do trail maintenance on someone's trail without them knowing, and then they go out to do trail maintenance and don't know it's already been done, like that's such a pain because you may end up getting groups of people together that you're like, well, we're going to go do trail work together. And you get out there and it's already been done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or overdone in this case.
It's time for SLASR's Guest of the Week. Very cool. Very cool.
But anyway, Rebecca, welcome to the show. I guess we're going to have Stomp's heart rate settle down before he starts talking, but we wanted to have you join us again because you got a lot going on here. I guess maybe to start with, like you did like a project earlier this year where you did all of the trails on Monadnock. So you did like I don't even know, is there a patch or what the deal is, but can you talk a little bit about like hiking all the trails on Monadnock, how many there are, what the distance is, and how long it took you?
Sure. So I hiked all of the trails that are on Mount Monadnock and kind of around the mountain. And it took me, I believe I did 8 hikes total to complete all of the trails. I think I summited the mountain, like to the actual summit. I want to say it was 5 times. I have to pull up the data to actually tell you the number of trails. I want to say it was like 34.
Okay.
And I want to say it was maybe like 45 miles of trail, something like that. But yeah, it was a really fun project to take on this spring. I typically in the springtime go out to the Belknap Range and hang out there. And I've done that area so much now that I just needed something new. And also I really just felt like I wanted to explore Monadnock more because of the fact that it's such a popular mountain. And I know there are a lot of trails on there that don't get used as much as the main trails. So I decided, let's just see all the trails and I'll hike all of them. And I ended up finding out after I finished that there is a patch that you can get now. So there's a Facebook group, and I'm not really entirely sure if there's like one individual who sends out the patches, and I don't know if he just has these that he has created, but it doesn't cost any money. But I kind of feel like I've noticed a huge influx in people on that particular Facebook group who are getting the patch now. So I think that it's great that people are interested in that they're exploring the trails, but I wonder if maybe there should be like a $5 fee or something, because I think this poor man is going to get a major influx of people.
Yeah, well, you're getting the news out now. So, did you mostly start from the state park to begin with, or did you start from all different areas?
So there is trailheads all around the mountain. So you have the state park trailhead, which has the white dot, the white cross, and a couple of other trails as well. And then there is the old toll road trailhead, which both of those you have to pay $15 to park. So that's one thing that people should know ahead of time. The other trailheads that I parked at were Marlborough Trail, Dublin Trail, and Pumpelly Trail, and then Birchtoft, and I feel like there's another one over there that there's like a different parking lot that you can park in. So I parked in all of the different trailheads and only had to pay at the state park and at the toll road. But I actually really, really, really enjoyed the Marlborough Trail a lot. And I think that's kind of an underused trail compared to like the White Dot or the White Cross, which are really, really heavily used. So I would encourage people to explore some of the other approach trails because they're beautiful and they're not as heavily used, and you don't even have to pay to park at them. So,
what's Stomp's first trail?
Okay, well, you're like much more. I bet you would like Spellman because you seem to like steep stuff, which Spellman is incredibly steep, and I was not expecting it. I actually went down it, and it's a trail that leads off of Pumpelly, so it's not going to take you directly to the summit, but it's going to take you, I think you have to take Birchtoft to get to it. And then from there you hit Pumpelly and hit the summit. But it's like this really beautiful rock scramble that you would never expect to see on Mount Monadnock of all places.
Right. Sounds great.
So yeah, it's a really, probably a trail you would like.
Yeah, and that's the trail that I've hiked every time. I've hiked Monadnock like 3 times, and I've gone up Spellman every time. So I'll typically go like White Dot to Cascade Link, up Spellman, and then we do a little secret mission off to the side, and then head up to Pumpelly, and then loop back around. So, but I want to mix it up, so I'm going to check out that Marlborough Trail, definitely.
Is that where they found that fake finger on Northwood's Law?
Yeah, so I think where they found the fake finger, Rebecca's like, what the hell are you guys talking about, fake finger?
Yeah, I don't know about this.
They found the fake finger. I'm pretty sure it was like on Pumpelly Trail, but up towards the peak. There's like a couple of different like sections where you go into, like you're above tree line, but then you go into like these little wooded sections, and I think they found the fake finger, which I think somebody dropped a hot dog or something. And
so wait, what was this?
You knew it was fake because they actually showed the finger on TV, and obviously you can't show a severed finger on public television or whatever. It was one of the Northwoods Law search and rescue episodes, and they were hyping it up that there was like this finger up there, and a hiker found it, so they called the rescue teams or Fish and Game, and they went up there, and they made an entire episode about it and built up to this thing being just a plastic finger that somebody left up there to troll everybody, I guess.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I guess there's lots of ways to get people to watch TV. Yeah, so Marlboro Trail, the only thing I would say is, well, I have a RAV4, and I don't feel like that's going to bottom out on most things. Just be aware that the Marlboro Trail, getting to the trailhead, is definitely the worst road of all of the roads, and it's very, eroded in some spots. So go slow, or don't have a vehicle that sits low to the ground, because you may bottom out. In terms of parking, I'd say that's the best one as well. Like the Pumpelly is going to typically be a lot more vehicles. And then obviously the state park and the toll road. Like the state park actually will even ask you now, do you have reservations? And you don't have to, but they recommend it. So that's something else to keep in mind. And that started during COVID. They actually were like, oh, you have to have reservations, and they just kept it as a thing.
Yeah, and I've done that before. Like I just book a parking spot. You can go on the Monadnock State Park website, and if you have various parking passes, sometimes it doesn't cost the whole $15 if you have a state park pass. It's cheaper, but it's pretty easy parking in there. And typically what I've been doing for Monadnock is that's a Friday night hike for us. So we get there 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and then we can get up and down within 3-4 hours, and you get, it's light until about 8:30 or so. And usually there's not that many people there on Friday night, which is good. But congratulations, Rebecca, on doing all of Monadnock, and so you'll get a patch on that. So we'll include the details on how to join that group and what you can do to get a patch for hiking all the trails on Monadnock. But moving on to your next project, which is hiking all the trails in the White Mountains. So this is it used to be known as redlining. There was a whole bunch of drama about using that word. Now people call it tracing. I don't know what to do. I used to say I was just going to use tracing, but then a lot of people I know and respect still use redlining, and whatever you want to call it, you can call it that. I get it. Redlining has a bad history as far as a word, but it's also hikers have been using that word with no ill intent for a long time. So I go back and forth on it, but we're just going to call it redline/tracing, and don't come at me. I'm sorry.
You can't keep up.
Yeah, it's very weird. It's I'm not even sure how to, I don't know. I just feel I don't even know how to proceed with it either. And it's kind of hard too, because I'm being so involved in it. I feel like I'm supposed to use proper terminology and don't want to offend anybody. But at the same time, half the community is using redlining and the other half is using tracing. So, and then people, I've also noticed all over the country still use redlining. So, I was listening to another podcast that's a very popular podcast in the hiking community, and they were using redlining in terms of up here, talking about it, as well as other parts of the country where people do this. And then out west and stuff, people still call it redlining. So it's just well, what is going on? And other groups still call it redlining. Monadnock patch will say redliner on it.
Yeah, exactly. So either way, you're doing this, and you had originally started this before you had your cancer diagnosis. And how far along were you before you found out that you had cancer and you kind of had to stop redlining or tracing, but you continued hiking?
So I started in June 19th of 2020 for my second time. And the first time I only did 7%, and that was before COVID. And COVID hit after a month and a half of me doing this. I had to stop because everyone, was told to stay home and not be out going far away. So I stopped redlining in March, and then was okay, I can't use this next month and a half and not, I can't not hike. So I started again June 19th, and I kind of feel that's more my official start date in a way, because the first attempt was so short. So June 19th, 2020, I started, and I hiked until roughly like August 22nd. I think that's when I officially did my last hike towards it. And I did 18% in that amount of time. And then I was diagnosed with breast cancer. Technically, I was diagnosed on August 21st. So the day after that, I went and did my last hike. And then I hiked throughout all of treatment and kind of went back and forth about whether I wanted to try this again because of a lot of things. It's financially a huge thing for me to take on. And my car has literally it has almost 200,000 miles on it. Like, it's 50 miles less right now than 200,000. So I put like 400 miles on it since we last talked. That was like a week ago, I think. Actually, yeah, I don't know. But yeah. And then there's the whole me working and like I have bills and things like that. So it's kind of been very much a back and forth thing for me. And I also wasn't sure how I felt about the whole publicity piece of it. With people being like knowing about everything that's going on in my life, it's been really difficult. And like, I've had to really learn how to navigate being public about personal stuff. And I finally came to the decision a couple months ago that I really felt like I needed to try it again. And like, I got kind of screwed out of the first attempt because I got cancer, or I was told I had cancer. And I felt like I wanted to give myself this as kind of a gift for going through treatment. So I'm spending 14 months actually this time working on hiking all the trails in the Whites. And I'm also working on doing the New England 100 highest peaks at the same time. So I added that because I really want to finish that list. And I have 80 out of 100 done. And since most of those are ones I'll be hiking as I'm redlining or tracing, may as well try to just add the other ones in. It's kind of how I felt.
So for the 100 highest, you're going to just continue on with the number that you're at and just add those additional 20. But for the tracing piece of it, you're hitting the reset button and starting from zero. Is that right?
I'm resetting both lists.
Oh, you're resetting both lists. So you're going to do the 100 starting from scratch all over again at the same time.
Yeah. So I know it sounds like a lot. Yeah. Yeah, so you end up hitting a lot of you hit all of the 48. You do hit a lot of the kind of like, you'll hit like the Horn and what's the other one up there? The Bulge. And
you
like,
get all the 52 views.
Yep, you get like, there's a lot of the 100 highest. Well, not a lot, but there's some of the 100 highest you hit while redlining or tracing. And then on top of that, like, I will have to go to Vermont and Maine to hit all of the peaks. I have it all planned out. So like, I think it ends up adding an additional like 27 days of hiking or something, including driving and things like that. So it's really not that much more. And since this is basically what I'm doing for the next 14 months, besides working maybe 2 days a week, I am like committed to doing this kind of. And yeah, my biggest thing is I'm worried about, will my car make it? Because it's got so many miles. And also the gas prices right now are out of control. So
it's great.
Obviously, like, that's something that I have to take into consideration, is how much money am I paying to do this?
What is the plan? Like, are you doing this like 5-6 days a week, or how many days a week do you have to hike to meet your goal?
So I'll end up having to hike between 3 and 4 days a week, up to 5, depending on like when during the year. So like during the summertime, I'm going to be hiking a lot more because it's feasible and it makes more sense for me. Wintertime, I think I have like a couple of times where I'm only doing 2 hikes a week, and it's just the way I have it all planned out. That's how it worked out. I purposely tried to front load all of my hikes as much as I can into the non-snow seasons, because it's much harder to do this when it's wintertime. In order for me to do this, though, I need to be able to do it all year round, because I'm not doing hikes that are like 20 plus mile days. I'm doing like a normal, like 12 to 15 mile or under days.
Got it. And then how different is this planning from when you originally did it? Because I remember last time you talked about it, like you did like Excel spreadsheets and you had a plan, but did you do the same methodology, or how different is the plan now based on, looking at it? You probably thought this through a bunch of times, but like what's the planning difference between the last time?
Actually, I have it planned out the same because I still have the spreadsheets and everything. I think the difference would be that I'm adding the 100 highest, so I had to take that into account when I was doing the planning. So like I had to think about how do I build those hikes into my schedule. So like when I do Nancy Pond Trail, I'm going to go up and do Nancy. And when I go do when I go do Kerrigan, I'm going to do Vos Spur. Like you purposely hit the peaks as you're going along. And then I have it planned out so that I have days that I've put aside where, okay, I'm going to go to Vermont and do Mansfield, or like, cause I've already done a lot of these too. So for me, it's kind of a little easier just cause I've already done a lot of them. I only have 20 left.
Got it. And then how does weather factor into this? Do you have like hikes? Do you like reserve hikes that are close to your home when the weather's going to be bad, or do you have like hikes that you've got earmarked to say like, all right, this is like a rainy day hike and I'll wait to do that on crappy weather, or do you just have everything planned and you're going to do it regardless of the weather?
So I have it more planned out in terms of seasonality. So I know, having looked at the routes that I've created and looked at the Facebook groups and like read about trail conditions and talked to people, I know, okay, these are hikes that are not going to be broken out in the winter. You need to do those during the summertime. Or obviously I'm not going to go hike up Huntington in the wintertime. Like there's certain things you just have to like plan it based on the weather, and also road closures. So if I know that there's certain roads that are closed in the wintertime, I'm not going to put those during the winter. So I have it all planned out based on basically the snow. It's kind of what dictates what I'm doing when. Or also like, when is snowpack going to be gone in the springtime, or when is it going to show up in the fall? So yeah, it's all based around the winter basically because we have such a long season.
Got it. And then you're doing this for 14 months, which aligns with the amount of time that you spent in treatment for cancer. Like, how are you going to stay motivated for that long? And do you think that this is going to turn into like a grind, or like, do you feel like this is going to be like I guess, is this a monkey on your back that you just want to get done with, or is this something where you think like you're going to remain passionate and excited about being out in the trails all the time?
I think it's a little bit of both, because I know, having already done this for basically like 4 or 5 months, that it is hard and it's going to require me pushing through that desire to stay in bed and be in a nice, cozy, warm bed, and instead of getting up to drive north. Or kind of pushing through the exhaustion when I'm tired on trail. But like, I know that that's what is required in order to accomplish this. So I've already got that in my head, and I've mentally been spending a lot of time, especially like the last week, really kind of getting my mindset and my head right, and like in the right place and in the right frame of mind. And like, I don't know, I just sort of psych myself up for it, but then also try to like remain present. And then in terms of like wanting to get this monkey off my back, I don't really feel like that's the case so much as I feel like it's almost like I'm having a do-over, because I was robbed of this opportunity, and I feel like this is a second chance for me to actually try this again. And I'm really excited about it, kind of. And so I have a friend who recently went through cancer treatment. We paralleled our treatments basically. And she bought herself a hot tub for like a present for going through treatment to herself. So I actually reached out to her and was like, I love that you did that, because I'm giving myself this 14 months as my present to myself for going through literally hell for 14 months. So like, I know it's not obviously going to be an easy present or anything like that, but for me, this is so important. And I've been thinking about it and focused on it since 2019. So it's like, this is my thing that I feel like I need to do this, because it's my thing that I have been so focused on and wanted to do for so long.
Got it. And then with actually, let me ask Stomp a question here. So Stomp, Rebecca's doing like the tracing in the red line. I was like a obsessive list person. Like you seem to just be chill about like, I just want to do like my exploration of stuff that I find interesting when I do a little bit of research. Like what's your take on us crazy, like obsessive, like list, trail chasing type people?
It's a really good question. It really depends on your passions. You know, I mean, for me, I think the need to conserve energy for search and rescue, which probably is my overriding passion personally, is what limits my time doing lists and things like that. So, I mean, for me personally, it's search and rescue. For others, it may be something else. So it really depends on the person.
Got it. So your list is essentially like being available for rescues when you need to be.
It is, and it really has put a damper on, you know, my recreational hiking. But, you know, I get the word passion from Jen Adams too. It's like, it's her passion. It's my passion. It's our passion for the people that are really into it. So,
yeah. And I do like, Rebecca, the idea of like starting from scratch, because I did a tally when I finished those 3 lists, and I was like, I think around 45% of the guide complete just through, you know, regular hiking through all those areas there. And then I sort of thought back and I was like, well, if I'm going to complete this, there's going to be a ton of scenarios where I have to go back to do the same hikes just to grab like a little spur. Or like, I think like Mount Success is a good example where when I hiked Mount Success, I came up from Success Pond Road and I took the little spur trail where, you go out onto the ledges before you even get up to Mount Success. And then when I came back, I was like, I'm going to go back out on the ledges and look. And like, I didn't close out that little back trail that bypasses the ledges. So I would have to go back just to do, not that I'd love to go back to Mount Success, but like I would have to go back and just close that little like quarter-mile section of trail down in order to, and I'm like, this is not appealing to me. I'd rather just spend a day hiking somewhere where I want to go hike. And honestly, like I would always do the ledges on Success over doing that little back trail anyway. So to me, the red line is difficult, but I think where you're starting from fresh, it makes sense because you just have to do everything and you can do it much more pronounced and from a strategy perspective. But like to go close out little sections of trail that I didn't do before, I have no interest.
Yeah, I feel very similarly about gridding. Like to me, gridding has no appeal because it's so redundant. And I know there's a lot of people who grid, but to me, it's like, okay, you're hiking. I mean, you don't have to use the same trail, but your goal is to get to the summit. Your goal is to peak bag. So you're not really thinking as much, I would assume, about like, let's explore these other areas in the whites. And to me, that's so redundant and I would not enjoy that at all. I would much rather redline or trace.
Yeah, it's interesting. But the bottom line is we all have these nutty obsessions about hiking, and it seems like, you know, one group is not more crazy than the other. We're all nuts, no. But I guess we all like getting outside. But Rebecca, I guess just moving on to talk about the cancer treatment. So you're done with cancer treatment at this point? Like, are you're just sort of moved forward, and can you talk a little bit about that and where your head is at as far as like the coming out of the treatment?
Yeah, sure. So I ended my hormone therapy or my Herceptin treatment, which is like an immunotherapy that you receive. October 14th was my last round. And I started hormone therapy because my cancer was positive for hormone receptors, which means my hormones are feeding the cancer. Mm-hmm. And it was awful. So I started doing that on October 15th, and I did my best at going and doing that treatment, which I'm supposed to be on technically for 5 to 10 years. I did it for about 3.5 months, and then I got off of it because it was giving me really bad side effects. Like I couldn't eat. I had no appetite. I lost a ton of weight. Felt really sick. I was having a lot of mental health stuff going on from it. And then I tried ovarian suppression because I'm premenopausal in order to take a different type of medication for hormone therapy. And I just couldn't deal with it mentally. Like the idea of being postmenopausal at 37 or 38 years old and like it's a matter of weeks that you're put into it. It's not years. So it's incredibly aggressive and intense. And I just didn't feel like it was worth it to me. So I stopped treatment. I did not finish treatment because to me it was more important that I had a quality in my life versus quantity. So I am taking a risk because I technically I should be doing this hormone therapy because it reduces my risk by half. So by not doing it, I've doubled my risk of recurrence. But I also know that there's a lot that goes into this in terms of thoughts and people I know that are stage 4, even though they did the hormone therapy. And it's just like, I don't want to put myself through this anymore. I'm done. Like, I'm just done. So I ended treatment and I haven't done anything now since March 23rd.
Got it. So you're technically cancer free. This treatment is just about like doing additional stuff so that it's less likely that it'll ever come back. And you're sort of just saying like the physical and mental issues with doing that extra stuff isn't worth the potential benefit of it not coming back.
So there's like, it's really hard to explain unless, people often think that you are cured of cancer or that your cancer is gone. You can't see a cancer cell. There's no cure. There's no knowing if
you like ring the bell and then that's it, right?
Yeah, exactly. So there's no knowing if I have cancer or not. Right now, I very well could have cancer and I just don't know. Anyone could have cancer. The point of doing these additional treatments is to lower your risk that the cancer that very well could be in your body still will multiply and grow into another tumor. Also, it'll lower your risk of having stage 4 cancer because once you're stage 4, you're terminal. So I am cancer free as far as I know, but I don't know. Like, no one knows. It's called NED. It's not, it's called no evidence of disease. That's the closest you get to cured once you've had cancer. So people will say they're NED.
Interesting.
So yeah, it's very hard because a lot of people will use terminology that they don't know. And I was the same way. So I have I try to be really patient with people, and oftentimes I'll just be like, yep, I'm cured, because it's just easier.
Yeah. And honestly, like, as somebody that, like, and again, I've had family members that have dealt with it and whatnot, but like, you do, like, the average person will go on to like YouTube or TikTok or these social media, they'll hear from people that are like, oh yeah, I had cancer, I went through treatment, it's like gone, and they ring the bell, and then, you know, so that's why I think that everybody sort of thinks that way. So it's interesting to hear you say that, because I never really thought of it that way, because it just, I'm just not close enough to that stuff at this point, but it's...
Yeah. No, I get it, because it's the same, like, up until I got cancer, I had no cancer knowledge, because I didn't have family with cancer either, really. Yeah. So for me, it was like, I had no clue what the heck was going on at all. I didn't realize how long of a process it was going to be just to get all the information, just so they could treat me too.
I just have a couple questions.
Sure.
I'm just so impressed by it. This is sort of poignant for me because my it's Father's Day weekend. My dad passed away from cancer 3-4 years ago now, and so it's an interesting time. And I don't want to say that he sort of gave up, but I think it might have been a combination of reluctance to go through the treatments and this and that, and, maybe being tired. I don't know. Who knows? But reflecting upon somebody like yourself, you tell me, I caught this when you said this earlier, that you were hiking through the exhaustion. I'm assuming that's due to the cancer. Mm-hmm. So is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So I know a few other people, like there's just this other guy on the search and rescue team. He's very public about it. He joined us for the qualifier, and he has 15 weeks left of treatment. And we have another member that is, going through treatment, and you people blow me away with your endurance and your willpower and it's just mind-blowing to me. So I just tip my hat to you, and I think it's absolutely amazing. But I just wanted to, I don't mean any offense by this at all. I'm just actually very curious. when you had mentioned your date about when you learned about the cancer, you had a very subtle distinction. You said something to the effect of, I got cancer, or I was told I have cancer. So you sort of like, separated the two and made a distinction.
Like, definitely still, even now, I don't feel like I had cancer. Like, I still cannot believe I had cancer. It's something that I don't know if you can ever really process, because it is,
that's what I'm trying to get to.
So mind-boggling to me. Like, when I look back at pictures, or if I like even just think about it, it's like, how is that even possible? I don't know. It's like mind-boggling, and I can't even really. I almost feel like your brain does something where it's like, you can't handle this, so we're going to like shut down the ability to comprehend that you really did go through this. I don't know. It's like, when I was in it, I definitely feel like I probably spent most of my active treatment kind of dissociating and like not completely allowing myself to fully grasp that I actually was going through cancer treatment. Because when I look back at a lot of the things I did, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, what was I doing? I literally did like half a dozen podcast interviews while I was so sick. I could like barely remember anything I said. And then I went on all these hikes, and I was in grad school, and I'm just like, did I not realize?
But that's fantastic.
I
think that's part of the victory. I think that's part of how you overcome this. You just, hey, life goes on.
It's interesting how so many people handle it differently too. Like, there's a person I'm speaking with currently on Instagram who's a person in their life is going through cancer treatment, and they're kind of not handling it as well. And there's no right or wrong way to do cancer treatment, and everyone handles it differently. But it's like, I think for me, the only way I could handle it was like, I have to almost act as if it's not really happening, because otherwise I just don't think I can handle it. So I just acted like I wasn't really in treatment almost.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's probably, my guess is that you were probably always one of those people that would deal with stress by staying busy. And this is just sort of like a bigger reaction to an even bigger stressful moment. But the other thing is you have cats to take care of. So
I mean,
you couldn't just like abandon your cats here. You have to take care of those. So and by the way, did you get a new cat? Is that what I heard?
Yeah. Her name is Thomas. Technically her name is Thomasina. I really wanted a boy cat, and I was really set on the name Thomas. So when I got all the kittens, like the decision of which one I wanted, I'm like, well, that's the one.
I've noticed like a trend with like animals lately. Like almost everybody I know that has an animal gives it like a guy's name now. Like we were on trail and we saw this dog named Dougie or Doug, and they were calling it Dougie, and I was like, I love that trend though. It's so funny. Like they had just random guy names for all these pets.
Well, coincidentally, my cat that passed away, that this one is kind of like the new version, like the replacement, I guess you could call it, was a boy cat named Mimi. So I think I just like to like to mix things up a bit.
That's funny. My wife's aunt, we call her Mimi, so that's a cool name. But
yeah,
I never thought of that for a cat, but that's good. So why don't you can you talk about like in conjunction with doing the red line /trace, you are doing a fundraiser in memory of your friend who had passed away from cancer while you were in treatment, and you got to know her, young lady. So can you talk a little bit about the fundraiser? And we're going to put this up in the show notes and make sure that people can donate if they're interested, because it's for a very good charity. But can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So I'm doing my hiking thing, and that's kind of just for me, like my gift to myself. But I felt like if I'm going to do this thing and it's going to take a lot of time and probably people will end up following along, I want to try and do something good for something, like some organization. And I ended up deciding to raise money for a small organization that is based out of Boston called Christopher's Haven. And they are, they only take in about 7 or 8 families. But what it is any child that has cancer that is receiving treatment in the Boston area can stay at this particular place. It's like apartments. And it's because oftentimes parents and family can't, either they can't afford or they don't live anywhere near the city. So this is to help out in terms of housing. And the reason I picked this organization is my former student that I worked with, and she ended up becoming a friend kind of once she graduated. And she was going through cancer treatment, and I ended up getting diagnosed while she was in treatment. And her name is Monique. I have her entire kind of our friendship / story thing on my website. It's kind of long, but it talks about our entire relationship and how things progressed throughout the couple of months she was still alive that I was in touch with her. She ended up passing away in December of 2020 from Ewing sarcoma, which is a really aggressive cancer that is often, or I think it's mostly or always found in children. So Monique was a huge part of my, I guess, care team in a way, because she was always there to help me and she was always rooting for me. And even though she was terminal and she was going through some serious stuff, she was always there for me. And it was like, losing her really was awful. I was actually in treatment at getting chemo, and then that next morning I found out she passed away, and like it was just really awful. But she stayed at Christopher's Haven. So the reason I picked that organization is because her mother actually told me that Monique liked it a lot there, and that if she was going to have me raise money, that would be where I'd raise it for. So my goal is to raise $15,000 for this organization over the next 14 months, which sounds like to me, it sounds like an insane amount of money. I'm really, really, really hopeful that I'll be able to raise it. And even if people are only able to donate like $5 or $10, it's everything counts towards this. As of right now, I've raised $1,155. So I'm really hoping over the next 14 months I can raise the money. The families that benefit, they do not pay, and all of the money goes to keeping the organization, the building and everything open, and it is 100% donor funded. So like they don't receive any sort of funding from anything else, which is huge to me. And they're not using the money to line pockets of anybody. Like there's no one to really line the pockets of. It's such a small organization. So yeah, I'm really excited, and hopefully people will donate.
So they just have to keep the facilities open and available for the families that come in there. And
yeah, and they offer like, I think they offer like kind of, there's like a community room so the parents and everybody can kind of hang out and get to know each other and stuff, which is huge, because I'm sure it's incredibly isolating being a parent who has a child with cancer. I just know that like it's an amazing organization, and the people who work there are really kind. The woman who runs this facility and we have each other's phone numbers now. So she and I text each other, stay in touch about how things are going. And it's a very small facility. And I know it's not like a massive organization but I really want to raise money for it because I know that's what Monique would want. So I'm trying to kind of do it for her.
That's awesome.
Did you ever talk to Monique about like your hiking stuff? Did she have any interest in that at all?
I did. She actually, when she was going through the very end of her treatment, she would dance on her Instagram and like do TikTok stuff. I don't know if you guys are on there. Like they do these dances. Oh,
yeah, I know. I got teenage girls on.
Yeah, so she'd get on there and dance. She called it Dancing Through Cancer. So she would go on and dance and do cute, sort of like the weird routines they do on TikTok. She actually has a TikTok account.
Yeah, Renegade and all that.
And her nurses would dance with her. It was really cute. She was really into music, so that was more her thing. But yeah, she turned 19, and then 2 weeks later, roughly, she passed away. So she wasn't really able to do much physically. I mean, she was constantly getting radiation to keep the cancer small enough that she wasn't in constant pain.
Yeah, well, we'll include all the details in the show notes. And Rebecca, what I'll do is I'll screenshot the part where it talks about your story, and then I'll make sure that I just post that as an image and then put the link underneath. And then the link that we'll include is a direct donation where the funds will go directly to Christopher's Haven. They don't go through anywhere else, so you can donate directly to them and on behalf of or to support Rebecca and the memory of Monique. So it's a very good fundraiser, and we'll work to try to help you to get that $15,000.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. I'm so nervous about not making it. It's so dumb. I'm more nervous, I think, about that than anything.
You'll get there. Yeah, you got 14 months,
I know.
so you'll make it
I have to keep telling myself that.
Maybe SLASR will make a donation.
Yeah, you know what you need to do? Yeah, exactly. But you know what you need to do? You got to find that guy that like gave the money to River Dave. Remember that guy, River Dave? Some rich dude gave him like $100,000. We got to find that guy and see if we can get him to donate. But we'll work on that. So, but the other thing is, when are we all going to hike together? So we got to do. So when you're down by like the Woodpecker Studio, you got to let us know, and we'll come up and do like Welch Dickey and like that whole area there.
That would be awesome, actually.
Well,
we should.
I was just going to suggest Cone Mountain. We have to do Cone, and that's an excuse to get Danielle out here because she needs Cone.
Oh man, she needs to get on the podcast.
Yeah, she does.
I told her today she needs to. I told her. I talk about her all the time.
I do too. Yeah, she's a riot. Yeah.
She's great.
Yeah, we'll get her on.
That girl does so much stuff. Like, she needs to be on here.
Yeah, she does. So, yeah, and we did a triathlon together too. So she's an amazing character in the White Mountains. So we'll get her on eventually. But anything else, Rebecca? We're going to talk about search and rescue news, so you can stick around and give your opinion on this stuff. But I didn't know if there's anything else that we missed that you wanted to cover before we go into the search and rescue stuff.
Just specifically the statistics or the data. So the routes right now, I have 182 routes that I've created, and it's roughly. Well, okay, it's about 1,453 miles, not including all the backtracking. I have 3 overnights that I'm doing and 17 traverses that require car spots. So that's kind of the statistics in terms of what I'm doing for my routes, and the rest are day hikes. So it's mostly day hikes, just to give people an idea of how many days. And that 182, that's including the New England 100 highest, I believe. Oh, no, it's not. I'm sorry. Including the New England 100 highest, it's going to be 185 days of hiking.
Yeah, that's a lot. And I've always said, like, so if people out here listening, one of the things that I've always thought about when it comes to this trace or red line is, and I think I talked about this, Rebecca, when you were on previously, if somebody is listening and they're like a computer science person and they're interested in like large-scale distributed systems or whatever, if you wanted to do a cool research project, whether it's for a PhD or you're a college professor that has a bunch of computer science students or whatever, I feel like strategizing like the fastest, most optimal way to do the red line or trace by like building like a computer system around it to basically identify like what the best routes are and the most efficient routes so that you're not going back and forth would be a really cool project. And if anybody was ever interested in like doing that, like reach out to me. I'd love to be part of something like that. Like I'm not a computer programmer myself, but I think that would be like a really cool project to work on, to basically figure out a way to optimize the routes in order to complete the red line so that you're not repeating trails and that you're doing it in a way that's most optimal. I don't know exactly how it would work, but I think a really smart distributed system computer person could figure this out, and it'd be a great project for a college class or something.
Yeah, and also I just lied. So it's 185 days total of hiking because I have to do 2 overnights for the red line, and then on top of that it's 21 days for the 100 highest. So it's 206 days is roughly how many I'll do. Just wanted to get that clear because I didn't want to be wrong on your podcast. So, but yeah, I feel like I heard somebody else talk about something similar to this, where it's about like doing a dissertation type thing, similar to this. Not for up here though, on a podcast. I think that would be a really cool thing to see. I bet you that someone out there could do that.
Yeah, I just build like a computer model build a computer model to say like, okay, you put in the parameters and you say like, okay, a hiker is available to do 18 miles per day on average. They want to do like 3 to 4 hikes per week, and then like just sort of model it out and say like, what's the most optimal set of hikes that you could put together to complete all of these hikes and figure elevation and distance and not overlapping. All it is a giant sort of mapping system that you'd have to figure out. So it would be interesting to see what people come up with. But if anybody's doing stuff like that, like definitely let me know. I'd love to talk to them. We'll have them on the podcast or either that, or follow along in whatever projects they're working on.
Rebecca, you doing okay? You look like, sun's going down, mosquitoes are out, you're outside.
Yeah. No, there's no mosquitoes because I'm in Manchester. So they don't come out here.
I was just checking.
I'm right near the highway.
And send you some bug spray.
Nope, no mosquitoes. That was earlier today on the trail. It was pretty rough.
She's in Manch, Vegas. Are you out on the deck or on the porch?
Yeah, I'm on my deck. Because I don't. On the deck in Manch, Vegas. Out. I can't be in the house right now.
Do you guys like my Superman stomp logo? It's like an S with a circle.
I don't like it at all.
Yeah, it looks good.
I'm talking to an invisible person.
My timing's off, Stomp. I don't know what you are up to.
I know. I'm so tricky.
You know what? This must be how teachers feel when they were doing Zooms.
Oh, through COVID?
Like back when we were all on COVID, when all the kids would refuse to put their face on there and they'd have to have the S of whatever, of all their students.
Yeah. Which begs the question, where were the parents? Like, hello? Is your student...
No.
What's your student doing?
Okay, focus.
Crazy times.
Moving on to search and rescue news.
All right.
All right, so first, so we get a bunch of national news here, and then we'll get into local stuff. So, first one is from Oregon, and we've got a missing dog here. Everybody panic.
Oh, boy.
An online community is rallying together to search for a 4-year-old husky that went missing after a hike in Oregon State Park. So the dog's name is Uni, and they were last seen on Saturday, June 11th. So it's June 17th right now.
Wow.
And the owner... I guess there's a Facebook group dedicated to this guy's return. So the group is called Finding Uni, and they've got over 500 members in three days. So there is
That's
probably
incredible.
there's hundreds of women walking around the woods in Oregon with sweaters looking to put a sweater on that dog and save it and take it home. So there's 500 members. Some ladies in this article, she's like, I'm in Portland, Maine, but I'm praying for your girl to get home safely. So she's continuing to check Craigslist, Facebook posts to see if anybody had abducted the dog. And everybody is on the lookout for this dog. So Uni is like, people are freaking out, but the owner is like, it's so great how everybody cares about Uni. And she's like, I haven't met any of these people, but they're doing this for me and for Uni, and it's amazing. But unfortunately, they just haven't seen anything. So somebody's going to find this dog and a husky, and they're going to be like, this dog's awesome, and they're going to take it home. So hopefully someone will spot it.
In that mud pit, apparently. Apparently that's where she took the dog off of the leash.
Yeah. And I guess Uni is named after... Sushi for her bright orange coat. So the dog weighs 45 pounds and has blue eyes and has shorter legs compared to other huskies. So I don't really know what that means, but everybody is in Oregon is looking for Uni the dog.
It means they don't do well in mud pits.
Can I just say, like, so I told you guys to say focus, but like, and I try not to go on social media, but I always say that, but I'm on social media. There are so many missing cats in my town. I can't believe, Rebecca, really? There's like 8 missing cat posts last night on the like, nobody can keep control of these asshole cats. What?
It makes me wonder if someone's taking them and like eating them or something.
No, they're all being found though. Because it'll be like, Becky posts and she's like, I'm missing my cat Soxy Poo. And, it'll be like 3 days and then finally someone will find the cat and then she'll be like, thank you. I love this town. It's so great. Everybody looks out for the cat.
What town is this?
You don't even want to know. I don't want to get into it. But like there are so many missing cats in my town. It's unbelievable. So do your cats, are they indoor or outdoor cats?
They're gotta indoor be.
You're
cats.
in Manchester. Like
yeah, no, I would not. They would get hit by a car.
Oh my God, I would love to have Daphne be an outdoor cat. She's crazy.
No, is Daphne the one that
was attacking us when you came over? Yes, she was headbutting the door like a medieval battering ram.
She was so so cute.
Yeah, she is.
I love
She's
that
a kitten.
cat.
Yeah. Well, speaking of cats, I forgot. Well, Stomp, you know this. I mentioned this to you, but Rebecca, you might be. So Mel, who hiked with Flocky or Floki,
Yeah.
who's like the
Floki.
she reached out. So apparently, Stomp, like you had reached out to her, and there was like she had some issues with her email or messenger or whatever, and didn't get the message. So she reached out, and I'm pretty sure we're going to have Floki on, or Flocky, whatever, however you pronounce it. So I'm working on that. So stay tuned. But
Cool.
she's down to come on, which would
So
be
you
great.
can't bring that cat into your house. Stomp.
Oh, hell no. No,
That
it
would
would
not
be
go down
the
well.
Viking gods battling. It is Floki. I believe it would be Floki from Viking lore.
Okay. All right. So if you had Floki and the executive producer, they wouldn't get along?
Oh, these two cats don't get along with anybody. So
Do they get along with each other?
No, absolutely not. Nope.
So you have two cats in your house and they can't be near each other?
They can't. And I think it's because the executive producer just is she's so territorial, and she loves the two of us so much that she will not let anybody get near us. So it's crazy. It's always a problem. But they seem to be getting a little better, but I don't know.
Anyway, focus, Mike. Focus. So
I think the listeners
all
love
right,
this
the
stuff.
next one is, so this one is the one I talked about when we talked about Rosie Ruiz earlier. So a woman is banned from National Park for 5 years over a false report about a missing hiker. So
Jesus.
This lady, Heather Mikoski, I'm gonna try to like give you the cliff notes on this story because it's like insane.
Crazy.
This woman, Heather McCloskey, cannot enter Grand Teton National Park after she knowingly provided false information in a false report in a search for this missing hiker, whose name is Cyan McLaughlin. So my last name is McLaughlin. So it's like somebody in my clan is missing. But anyway, this woman, she's accused of providing false information. She actually admitted it about a missing hiker in Wyoming's Grand Teton National Park. So she's been banned from the park for 5 years, and I think she got fined like $17,000 or something like that. So basically, my understanding of the story, and this was one that I think our friend Al had shared this with us as well, by the way. So my understanding is that this lady was aware. So this guy went missing on June 8th, 2021 in Grand Teton, hasn't been found. This lady somehow was aware of the guy going missing. She was talking to some people. So this guy worked at a bar. This lady was at the bar and had either heard somebody talking about the fact that like the search and rescue crew weren't searching a particular area that they thought that he might be in. I guess he liked to like hike around this lake or something. And they were looking in an area that was like, I don't know, 4 or 5 miles away. So one of the people, like she either overheard or she was talking to a friend who was like, yeah, I think that they should search this particular area. But the search team was not looking in that area. So this lady heard the person who was a friend of the guy talking about it. She decided on her own to reach out to the search and rescue or the Forest Service and lie and say, I saw this hiker on this date in this particular area, in order to get the search crew to actually look in that particular area. So she basically like just made the story up because she was convinced, based on hearing like the person's friend, that they needed to search this particular area. So it would be like if somebody went missing on like, Franconia, but somebody that used to be friends with them was like, oh, they really like Lonesome Lake, and you then say like, oh, I saw them on Lonesome Lake, to just redirect everybody over there. So it's like a crazy story. And eventually, like it came out that she like provided this false information because they started digging into the whole detail of it, and she finally admitted it and said like, this is why I did it, is because I thought, based on this like secondhand account, that it was worth redirecting resources into this particular area. So I don't know, Stomp, what you think about it, but to me, it's crazy.
That's insane. I'm not sure what drives people to do things like that. I'm just going to keep my mouth shut. Who knows?
Well, it's crazy. I mean, it's like we talked about Rosie Ruiz. Like people, like there's like people that just straight up lie about stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they get like a energized by it, or they get, you know, some sense of adrenaline around it, if they want to just insert themselves. But I've seen this with like the Maura Murray case has a bunch of people that like insert themselves into it and cause a whole bunch of drama. We saw it with that River Dave situation. Like, people just like to insert themselves into nonsense, and you know, it's just, you've got to be very wary. And I would assume like Fish and Game is well aware of this stuff. It's just another reminder that, like, you know, in the heat of the moment, when you've got people that are claiming like I saw X, Y, and Z, like, you got to approach that stuff with a level of skepticism that, you know, not everybody is on the up and up.
Yeah, and I think that might like trickle over on trail during a mission when you're going up trail to, you know, see somebody with an injury or whatever. Everybody coming down has 300 different stories about what's up ahead. Like, oh, they're 5 minutes away, they're 10 minutes away, they're this and that. And it's like, everybody just wants to be part of the adventure.
Yeah. And it, like the fog of like when things are going down, like we just had a situation in my town. Like, so I live in Amesbury, Mass, Rebecca. Like and we actually just had a situation last week where we had 2 people die. They fell into the Merrimack River, and a mother and a 6-year-old boy died. And like during that situation, they were on the edge of the river fishing. The kid, there was 2 kids. They fell in. The mother went in after them. They got one of the kids got rescued by a boat. But as the story was going on, the original story was told that like there was a boat accident, but in reality, there was just a random boater out there that had rescued some of the people that had fell in from the shore. So for like a couple of hours, everyone was like, there was a boat accident and somebody fell overboard and died, but that wasn't the story at all. So like in the fog of this stuff going on, like you just got to be, you know, really skeptical about everything until, you know, the truth comes out. So
this sounds like a Stephen King town, like missing cats.
Oh, my town? Oh, totally.
People dropping. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, this town is like
Pet Cemetery 3.
Right.
Yeah. We do have a lot of missing cats in Amesbury. So we have some good breweries and stuff. It's not all bad.
How's the Chinese food?
Yeah, it's really good actually. We've got like a bunch of really good Chinese food.
Oh.
But it is like last weekend was tragic. Like the river here, like we live right by the mouth of the Merrimack. Like, so I think a lot of people that are not from the area, and this family was from Lowell, and I don't know like how familiar they are with the area, but with the river. But like if you're down in Lowell and like even in New Hampshire, like the river moves, but it doesn't move anywhere like it does when you get to the mouth. Like the tide turns in one direction or another. This kid fell in and was gone. Like the 2 kids actually were just gone. So it took them 3 days to find this little 6-year-old kid's body. And the mother went in and saved his 7-year-old sister. So the mother went in, and apparently like none of them could swim. So the mother actually saved the 7-year-old. A boat pulled up. They were able to pull the 7-year-old up. And I don't know whether or not the mother like went back to try to find the 6-year-old, or whether she couldn't get up, or what the deal was. But they finally got the mother out. But by the time they got her on, they pulled her onto a dock. Like she was gone too. So it's just a tragedy around the water.
It's awful. It's so cold, even down south. I mean, up here, like I'm hearing trickles of people jumping in and, you know, diving off of bridges and things, but it's cold.
Yeah, and the current, people have no idea how insane the current is when it switches out.
Absolutely.
So it's crazy. But anyway, let's switch topics here and move to something a little bit more positive here. So a woman was gored and thrown 10 feet by a bison after getting too close to an animal in Yellowstone National Park.
Wow.
That's a good one.
Yeah, and I posted on our Facebook page. I was like, it is tourists getting gored season.
It sure
right
is
now. You know, it's the beginning of the tour. Yeah. So I mean, we've seen these stories like all the time. People want to get close to these giant bisons, and these bisons are like, you know, they're not having
it. It's like the weight of a car. They're huge.
Yeah. This 25-year-old, and I joke about like, you remember about the. I just said, I was like, all these women are like looking for the husky to put a sweater on it. Like, again, this is a 25-year-old Ohio woman that approached the animal. Like, a lot of times it is these women that think like it's like a cuddly little toy, but this thing's a 2,000-pound bison.
Yeah.
So it it gored her. And the park rules are that you have to remain at least 25 yards away. So that's like 75 feet. Like, even that's too close. Like, don't even get that close. But the victim's condition is unknown, but she was gored.
Ugh.
So it's the first reported incident of 2022, but not the last.
The running of the bulls. Where was that exactly?
Yellowstone.
Oh, of course.
So, although then again, nobody's going to be getting into Yellowstone after what happened this week.
Whoa. What happened?
Oh, you didn't see these? They had huge flooding. Like, all the main like roads to get into Yellowstone are like washed out. Like, bridges got washed out. Houses got pulled into the river. They got like flash flooding.
I think we have like an M. Night Shyamalan thing going on here with the nature saying, with all the pollen and the floods and everything else.
Yeah.
Could be.
We're not going to be able to breathe the air. Isn't that what killed the people in the movie? Isn't the air?
Yeah, exactly. But let's keep it positive with the next story here. So, Canadian hiker dies on Grand Canyon Trail a month before her wedding.
Oh, come on. Really?
Yeah, I actually feel bad. So it's a month before her wedding. So a woman from Canada died 3 miles before completing a hike on the Grand Canyon Trail with her fiance. So tough to tell what happened. It was insanely hot. So she was hiking the Bright Angel Trail, which is like it's the main trail from the South Rim. So the Bright Angel Trail is like it's the main trail. She made it down. Most people will do like a hike. They'll do the river to rim. A lot of the like guides up there, or the Forest Service says like you shouldn't try to do a river to rim unless you're really experienced. So, 41-year-old lady, she had hiked along the Colorado River earlier that day, and then around 5:50 local time, rescue personnel tried to resuscitate her. I guess she was apparently. She was about 3 miles from finishing the hike, and it was like an insanely hot day. So I think she just went past her limit, and whatever, her body just shut down. So it's really sad. Yeah. She was with her fiance as well, so she got very, very, very tired on the last half mile or so. And someone said they were going to call 911, and she said she didn't want to let anybody help her unless it was her husband, and she wouldn't give up. And then, unfortunately, like she just passed away, which is really sad. So they were about to get married. They had property in Belize, and start a new life together. But it just, she passed away while hiking. So it's just tough. You can't like push yourself in that heat. Like, I don't think she's from Canada. I can tell you, like, I've been in Arizona, and like the heat down there is like unlike anything that we deal with here. It's just insane.
Yeah, my husband's from New Mexico, and we went down there about a decade ago, actually, and it was like 113 degrees. And I couldn't believe how hot it is. And they say, oh, it's dry heat. Yeah, I don't care. 113 is still 113. Like, I couldn't believe how hot it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And even though like you think the heat rises, like it doesn't really in the Grand Canyon. It just like sits down there, and it's brutal. So anyway,
that's a positive story. I see what you're doing here, Mike. I see what you're doing. You're bringing us down, and you're going to bring us back up for the ultimate positive.
I am with this next one here. So a hiker from California plunges 300 feet to his death on a rocky shoreline, Oregon cops say. So Stomp is picking out all these articles, by the way. I have nothing to do with this. So a California man plunged 300 feet to his death on a 300 feet. That is that's crazy. Yeah. So this 56-year-old gentleman from California was hiking about 20 miles south of Gold Beach, and he just slipped on the trail and fell about 300 feet to the rocks on the shoreline below. Rescuers rushed to help him, and they had to set up a rope system to rappel down to him, but unfortunately the hiker had passed away on the scene, and they were able to take the body up to the top of the cliff. I guess this is like the Natural Bridges Viewpoint Trail is an out and back trail that takes about 15 minutes to hike, so it's not like a hard trail. Generally considered pretty easy, and I'd be curious to see if this person was with any friends or family or anybody that would potentially like benefit from a life insurance policy, because I always think about that when everybody plunges off a cliff like that. But
hey, honey, let's go to Table Rock.
Yeah, exactly. Once you go out on the edge, I'm going to get a photo. So, unfortunately, another death there. So,
Ooh.
Stop.
What?
All right, here's another.
No, trust
What are
me,
you doing?
dude. You're gonna love this. I'm bringing the audience to the deepest, darkest place ever, only to be uplifted to the highest elevation ever.
Stop.
You'll see. You'll
These
see.
are horrible.
You'll see.
All right, the next story is one person killed after hikers swept out to sea along the Northern California coast. So this happened in the Lost Coast Trail near Shelter Cove, California. Authorities received a call about 2 people in the water about 2:45. According to the fire department that had received the call, one of the hikers was actively treading water in the rough waves while the other was face down. God. After a rescue by the Ocean Rescue Unit, one person was declared deceased on the scene while the other was taken to the hospital. The sheriff's office said the rescue unit contacted a group of hikers who confirmed that the 2 individuals from their party were swept into the sea. So Shelter Cove is more than 200 miles north of San Francisco. But it doesn't explain how they ended up in the ocean if they were hiking.
I think this trail skirts the edge of the like cliffs and water.
Yeah.
And they just got smacked by high water and got pulled out.
Got it. That's scary as hell.
Yeah, it's a very interesting trail, actually, when you look into it.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Well, this last one here, well, there's more national ones here. So we've
2 more.
got 2 more. So this is in Connecticut. Somebody got lost in Connecticut. I don't know how you get lost in Connecticut, but they got lost in Connecticut. So I got to talk to Martin and find out what the story is with this. So it's Jafrida Park. A lost hiker. Why this is interesting is the fire officials were alerted to a lost hiker at 7:51. Several crews responded. Earlier in the day, the fire department had installed an app or location program called Rapid SOS into their 911 system. And the department's command car had been loaded with this Rapid SOS, and the program allows responders to locate cell phones with great accuracy. So just keep that in mind. Now, you got your cell phone. If you're going to call the police, there's all this technology now where they can actually zero in on your cell phone. So they were able to pinpoint this hiker, and they were located in approximately 20 minutes. Without the program, officials said that the process would have taken more than 2 hours with daylight diminishing.
Yeah.
I don't understand why it would take 2 hours. Like, why wouldn't they just be able to, like, call the person and ask them where they last were? But anyway, this is like basically like when you call 911, I think you can sort of expect that it's going to become very common that they can pinpoint your GPS very quickly on your phone in the future.
Right. Which is a good thing. Assuming you have, service and satellite coverage.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I have we have this thing called Life 360 where I got all my kids on there, and like I can see exactly where they are at any point in time. So I don't see why couldn't have something similar.
Yeah. And this one, just to jump to the last one here, we have a submission by Lauren, which is at Hiker IVT 207. Thank you. We'll skip it, but I think we're low enough at the moment. So it's a guy dies and 4 are injured in 1,000-foot falls on Mount Shasta. Pretty intense story, so you can check it out. But here's the big positive. Go ahead, Mike. Take it away. You're going to love this one.
Okay. Tale of survival. How a lost 3-year-old boy survived 2 days alone in rural Montana. Look at this kid.
Amazing story.
Oh my God, there's a picture of this kid. He looks like a little devil. But so Riker Webb was found safe in an area inhabited by mountain lions and bears. So 3-year-old boy spent 2 days on his own. He survived by seeking shelter in a shed. So this kid was reported missing on Friday afternoon, and he was found on Sunday about 2 miles from his home in a small town called Troy near northwestern Montana. Yeah. This kid's a little ginger, a little redhead.
Of course he is.
He is. So they heard a little boy's voice from the shed. And again, I have a redheaded daughter, so I think I'm okay saying ginger. But if I'm not, come at me, I guess. I'm sorry. But this kid went missing. He was very, very scared. And, there's mountain lions and bears and they're real bears, like grizzly bears.
Oh, yeah.
So there was a bunch of thunderstorms on the evening that he went missing, and the temperatures dipped down to 40 degrees. And I guess the shed where he took shelter was pretty old log cabin style structure. So when they found him, they asked like a bunch of different questions, and the kid was like, I just went for a long walk and I got tired. And I guess like they told him, like he got pretty excited when they said they're going to reunite with his parents. And I guess they took him for an evaluation and he's been discharged, but they really don't know what the deal is on why he took off.
Well, I read another story somewhere. The kid spent the night in that shed in a lawnmower bag. So he put himself in this lawnmower bag and spent the night and survived. It's amazing. What a cool little dude. You know what he reminds me of? Like, you know, the Game of Thrones mythology here. He looks like the dude that says, I've always had blue eyes.
He's an interesting little fellow. He like looks older than he is.
Yeah.
But he's an interesting little fellow. But I guess he's interested in bugs and insects. So
there you go.
Maybe he just got distracted.
So we took you from the deep, dark depths of despair to the positive highlights. There you go. Only at SLASR.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we got a couple more here that are local. So there's two ATV, UTV crashes. Like one guy, I guess, got killed in Berlin a week or two ago. So now, like, we've transitioned from the snowmobiles to the UTVs, and I'm sure we'll hear a lot more about these.
Right.
But this guy was 53 years old. He was riding along the Seven Islands Trail in Cambridge. Do they use the same like snowmobile trails with these UTVs, or are there different sets of trails?
I believe different, but I'm not 100% sure. I mean, like for instance, Jefferson Notch Road, you're not going to see ATVs on that road, and that's a snowmobile road in the winter. So it depends.
Got it. Well, this guy was cruising along and hit a tree and got ejected from the UTV. Now these UTVs, I feel like they're like the little cars. I don't know why they don't. I feel like I see like people with like shoulder straps and everything on them. I don't know why this guy got ejected, but maybe that's one of the reasons why he passed away.
Yeah. Yep.
So anyway, and then there was another dude that lost control of his UTV. And this was, I guess that UTV stands for utility terrain vehicle. So 36-year-old guy from Mass. And yet another passenger from Massachusetts. So I guess they were swerving to avoid another UTV turning off a side road and suddenly lost control. Yeah, I think he was issued a summons for unreasonable speed. So 30-year-old guy driving too quickly, not too surprising.
Yeah.
And then we've got two rescues. So this first one happened in Kilkenny, New Hampshire. Is there a Kilkenny, New Hampshire, or is that a typo?
Kilkenny Range. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Not sure.
I don't know the press release says Kilkenny, New Hampshire, like it's a town, but I don't think it is. But anyway, Fish and Game was notified of an injured hiker via 911 on Saturday, June 4th at 1:30 p.m. So the hiker had descended from Mount Cabot and was hiking north on the Kilkenny Ridge Trail when he suffered a leg injury. So SAR responded. The hiker, 65-year-old from Rhode Island, was hiking with another person. Some other hikers came upon him and helped him out while they were waiting. The hiker had departed earlier in the day from Unknown Pond Trailhead off of Millbrook, and they were about 5 miles from that location when the injury occurred. So the shortest distance was to take the old Mount Cabot Trail from East Lancaster up to the Kilkenny Ridge Trail. This distance was also approximately 5 miles, but the conservation officers used an ATV to access it within 0.6 miles of the Bunnell Notch Trail junction. From there, they had an additional mile to meet Driscoll and some hikers that were assisting them. So if I'm reading this correctly, I'm trying to understand this. So the shortest distance to his location was to take the old Mount Cabot Trail, which is closed. So the landowner there must have let them go up there, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right, because that's closed off. So kudos to the landowner for letting them do that then, if that's the case. And this guy I guess they were able to hike him out, and they got him out via the ATV at around 8:30 p.m., and he was good to go, and thumbs up to this dude. He had a hike safe card.
There you go.
Yeah. So that's interesting that they did take that that Mount Cabot trail.
We have breaking news.
Breaking news. All right, Stomp.
Let's go to this one.
So
Let's do this one, huh? And call it a day.
I will do this. Yeah, we'll call it a day. So breaking news on Thursday, June 16th, which is yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there was I read this one today, matter of fact. So Dicey Mills, which is like the main trail up at to Whiteface and all that stuff.
Passaconaway, yeah.
Passaconaway. So a male subject slipped and injured his ankle and requested assistance. So this guy, 24-year-old from Lawrence, was hiking with a female companion. They were hiking the Dicey Mill Trail and decided to go off trail in the vicinity of the bowl. I don't know why, but the dude slipped and injured his ankle, and they had to call 911. And then, so Sandwich, Tamworth, and Center, like a lot of the fire departments in the Sandwich Range respond to rescues along with the Lakes Region Search and Rescue Team. Yeah. But they assisted with the rescue, and I guess this guy was eventually located and assisted down the trail to the trailhead parking area by 9:30, and he was assessed and treated by members of the ambulance service. And it doesn't really, all it says is it reminds people to be prepared. But this guy, if he was with his like girlfriend, hopefully this wasn't like a first date or something like this. He's not looking too good. We're all married, right? Like I definitely hear like on social media about people talking about like how they go for hikes on first dates and how it's like usually a disaster because I think a lot of people pretend that they're hikers to get to meet girls, but like they're not really hikers.
Yeah.
That is a definite great segment for the future.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's a lot, man. There's so much going on nationally, locally. It's like holy moly.
Hiking is so goddamn dangerous.
It really
What's going on here? So many people are dying.
That's why people are pumped on it. They're like, "Oh yeah, take the risk."
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? I got to post this video on the Facebook page, but I just saw another video out in British Columbia of this family that was hiking, and this bear was just like chasing them down. Not chasing them, but like the bear would not. The guy had like a little like 12-month-old baby in his backpack, and then there was like a son that was like 4 years old, and it was a husband and wife, and they're like walking away. The wife's like, "Hey bear, hey bear." The little kid is like 4 years old. I gotta play. He's like, "Are we supposed to play dead now?" He's like asking his mother. Like it's been crazy out there, but and then all the people on the comments were like, they shouldn't be taking their kids out like that and putting them at risk. You shouldn't be anywhere where bears are. And I'm like, you guys don't understand what we're up to out here.
I think those parents handled that situation really well. I mean, they tried to balance the whole anxiety and stress of the event, trying to avoid stressing out the kids. I mean, that's a tough situation. No question about it.
I would have been like, look, important life lesson here. Run! The slowest person is the one that's going to get eaten, kid.
I love the fact that they actually had time to film it, though. Like, come on.
Yeah. It was kind of weird because the bear like did stay like 20 feet back, but it was still a little like scary.
It was tracking.
It would have been a different. It was a black bear, so if it was a grizzly bear, that would have been a completely different scenario.
And remember, the slasher tip is to punch him in the nose. That's all you got to do. You're good to go.
Yes, exactly. And then with that, I think we're going to get going too.
Done.
So, Rebecca, thanks for joining us. And
thanks, guys.
I can barely see you now. You're in the dark in Manchester. You're going to get the hell inside before you get killed.
The bugs are actually kind of coming out now too.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll call it. Stop. Get this edited, and we'll push it out.
All right.
Later.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the show, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you want to learn more about the topics covered in today's show, please check out the show notes and safety information at slasrpodcast.com. That's SLASR podcast.com. You can also follow the show on Facebook and Instagram. We hope you'll join us next week for another great show. Until then, on behalf of Mike and Stomp, get out there and crush some mega peaks.
Now covered in scratches, blisters, and bug bites, Chris Staff wanted to complete his most challenging day hike ever.
Fish and Game officers say the hiker from Florida activated an emergency beacon yesterday morning. He was hiking along the Appalachian Trail when the weather started to get worse. Officials say the snow was piled up to 3 feet in some spots, and there was a wind chill of -1 degree.
And there's 3 words that describe this race. Do we all know what they are?
Only one hill! Here's Lieutenant James Neeland, New Hampshire Fish and Game. Lieutenant, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
What are some of the most common mistakes you see people make when they're heading out on the trails to hike here in New Hampshire?
It seems to me the most common is being unprepared, and I think if they just simply visited hikesafe.com and got a list of the 10 essential items and had those in their packs, they probably would have no need to ever call us at all.